they have stood for centuries. Powerful, elegant, and mysterious. The walls and fortifications of San Juan National Historic Site still watch over what was once the most important port in the New World. More than 500 years after Spanish builders laid their foundations, the structures still hold untold secrets between their stone and mortar facades. They have been witness to epic battles, the rise and fall of empires, and dark tales of unfortunate souls. But perhaps the greatest secrets lie in their very construction. The site's preservation team has spent decades maintaining the national park and rediscovering the long-forgotten methods used by the Spanish. These modern masons have developed one of the most unique historical restoration programs in the world, one that will ensure remarkable structures like these remain living history for generations to come. On a typical day at Puerto Rico's San Juan National Historic Site, the hot sun shines down on one of the most spectacular settings in the Caribbean. Every day, thousands of visitors come here to enjoy the stunning scenery and surround themselves with formidable reminders of history. The site contains three main structures: Castillo San Felipe del Morro, Castillo San Cristobal, and Fort San Juan de la Cruz. The walls span more than 2.5 miles around the city of Old San Juan, covering a surface area of more than 16,000 square feet. The huge structures are under constant threat. Salt from the sea grates against exposed surfaces. Animals inhabit the high walls. Plants bore in between bricks. Mold and mildew slowly deteriorate the stone. And modern innovations cause damage the Spanish builders could not have predicted. But the most palpable destructive forces come from the Caribbean's dramatic changes in weather. Trade winds bring in spectacular rains from the Atlantic that pummel the northern coast of Puerto Rico. And hurricane season brings heavy winds and violent seas. The walls were built to endure the island's natural forces, but the water, salt, and sand inevitably wear them down. Without human intervention, they would eventually crumble to the sea below. The preservation team at San Juan National Historic Site has spent decades researching and perfecting the old limestone masonry techniques used by the site's original Spanish builders. The team is made up of more than 40 specially trained masons. They regularly survey all 2.5 miles of the site's facades, looking for signs of damage and prioritizing their nearly endless list of work. Today, the masonry team is beginning the restoration of a building used by the Spanish for ammunition storage, built in 1787. The team's first step is to take small samples of mortar from different points on the wall. Master Mason Jose Bastian carefully notes the location and basic characteristics of each sample.
It's important to sample from different areas because we can assume every area in this park is the same. We know that the Spaniards work by campaigns, and maybe the mason change and the material change too. So that means every 10, 20 feet, we gotta get samples in order to make sure we're dealing with the same material or a different material.
The crew then cleans the entire wall of loose material, down to the original 18th century base. The samples are taken to the park's laboratory for analysis. Here, Bastian and his team weigh each of them with a precise digital scale to get the overall weight. They are then crushed to a fine powder. Using diluted hydrochloric acid, they break the sample down further, dissolving the lime mortar. By draining the leftover material through filters, they separate the sand from the aggregate material. Once dry, the broken down samples are again weighed. By comparing each reading to the sample's original weight, the masons are able to determine the correct sand to lime ratio for the new mortar. Then, using a microscope, the masons look closely at the sand from each sample, noting the color, grain size, and shape. The preservation team has spent 2 decades collecting and cataloging different sands from throughout the region. It is critical that the sand in the new mortar match as closely as possible to what the Spanish used centuries ago.
Nosotros tenemos que buscar un material que sea lo más similar posible al que encontremos en la muralla. Si no hacemos ese muestreo, pues entonces vamos a aplicar algo que no es compatible y no funcionaría.